What's up, everybody? This is Harley, and welcome back to another episode of the Unapologetically Spicy podcast. This episode discusses grief, estrangement, and the loss of motherhood in its many forms. That's right, we're doing a motherhood episode, just in time for Mother's Day. Not the Hallmark version, not the brunch and flowers version, but the version that sits in your gut, that haunts your therapy sessions. The version that shows up every year around this time with a tight chest and a lump in your throat. Mother's Day. For some folks, it's a celebration. For others, it's a reminder. And for people like me, it's a complicated ass knot of grief, love, resentment, longing, and release. Today's episode is a love letter to the almost, to the maybes, to the women who mother without children or the title, to the childless stepmoms, to the daughters who ended up raising the women who gave birth to them, to the daughters whose own mothers couldn't show up in the ways they needed. This one, this one's for us. I was almost a mom. Biologically, I mean. I came close, real close. I carried the idea of them in my body, my heart, my spirit. There are moments I let myself dream of names, lullabies, matching fits, silly family pictures, the tiny hands I get to hold. But my life swerved hard. And still, I mothered. I stepped into a child's life not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I cooked. I listened. I picked up the emotional pieces no one else seemed to notice had shattered. I parented someone else's child. I loved him like my own. I poured so much of my heart into that child, and I did it knowing I'd never be seen as his real mom. And even though my womb never held life to term, I carried the weight of motherhood in my chest every single day. But when that relationship ended, I didn't just lose a partner, I lost him too. And no one talks about that. There's no word for when a child you loved, like yours, no longer is. There's no Hallmark or papyrus card for that. Just an ache that feels like it'll never go away. And then there's this thing people say: you'd make a great mom. And yeah, on a surface level, it sounds sweet. I know they mean it as a compliment. I know I know it's supposed to be sweet. But I gotta be honest, sometimes it hits like a paper cut to the heart. Every time I hear it, something inside me tightens, like a piano wire pulled too tight. Because being told I'd be a great mom sometimes feels like being praised for a starring role I never got to play, in a play I never got to perform. Because what do you do with potential that doesn't manifest? What do you do with the nurturing instincts, the maternal ache, the gentle knowing, and know where to place them? What do you do with the ache of being seen as something you're not and maybe will never be? People don't see that when they say it. They don't see the grief behind my smile. They don't see the years I've spent trying to make peace with the fact that the love I have to give may never look like what I imagined. Sometimes I want to say thanks, but please don't. Because being told I'd be a great mother often feels like I'm being handed a beautiful gift I can't open it. And it brings up guilt too, because part of me wonders after what I went through, after losing the two babies I could have loved and still do I even want kids anymore? Or do I just want the validation? Do I want the dream I built when I thought love looked different? The truth is, I don't know. And part of me still wonders, is it because I was never properly mothered myself? But what I do know is that I have mothered in ways that mattered to children, to friends, to younger versions of myself. And that counts. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about being the daughter of a woman who didn't know how to mother. Let's talk about what it's like to raise yourself while simultaneously trying to meet her needs. Because for a long time, I believed my mom was the mom, the example, the caregiver, the badass, the blueprint. But the older I got, the more that illusion cracked. She showed up physically. She cooked, she cleaned, she paid bills. But emotionally, she was absent or dismissive or unavailable in ways that left me feeling hollow. The veil was lifted. That moment when you realize your mother is more human than hero, and not just flawed because we all are, but emotionally absent, controlling, critical, sometimes even cruel. The kind of mother who makes you question your reality, who invalidates your pain, who can't hold space for your truth unless it reflects her version of events. And I realized I was chasing a version of her that didn't exist, that my idea of mother was something I had to build for myself, not inherit. And so I learned to fill in the gaps. I became my own comfort. I learned to regulate her emotions before I ever understood my own. I became the support system she should have been for me. And now, on the other side of 29, almost 30, with all this clarity, all this therapy, all this awareness, I'm still struggling, still untangling, still hurting. Because every year around this time, I think, how do I honor a mother who didn't nurture me? How do I send flowers to someone who never held my emotional blooms with care? How do I show up for her when I still feel unseen? So here I am, navigating womanhood, nurturing others, creating safe spaces, while still mourning the one I never got. And that's why Mother's Day is hard. Not because I hate mothers, but because I am one in spirit and also motherless in the ways that count. It's like living in a house full of windows but no doors. You could see what love could look like, but you don't always know how to enter it. So I wrote a letter, not to send, maybe, but to say, because some things deserve to be said, even if the person they're meant for will never really hear them. Dear Mom, I've rewritten this letter so many times. I want to celebrate you this Mother's Day. I want to write a post with smiling photos and nostalgic captions and talk about how you were my first teacher, my role model, my anchor. I'm struggling with what to do this year. I told myself I'll keep it simple. Say Happy Mother's Day, send a card, maybe call. But nothing about this day or our relationship has ever felt simple. And this year, I can't lie to myself just to keep the peace. So here it is, my truth, raw and unfiltered. You are my biological mother. You gave me life. You made sure I had food to eat, clothes to wear, a roof over my head. You showed up in the ways you knew how, and I want to thank you for that. But emotionally, you left me on red long before I had a phone. I didn't grow up with safety. I didn't grow up with softness. I didn't grow up with a lap to cry in or arms that knew how to hold space. I grew up navigating your moods before I understood my own. I learned to anticipate your reactions, to protect you from me. I held your pain, your anger, your disappointment, while mine sat in a corner, untouched, collecting dust. And still, I tried to earn your love, tried to be the good daughter, tried to need less, cry quieter, shine brighter, hoping it would bring us closer. And it took me years, to realize that was never my job. I was a child trying to be an emotional adult in a house that never felt like home. I've spent most of my adult life parenting myself, and if I'm honest, I spent a lot of it parenting you too. I've given you grace even when you gave me judgment. I've shrunk myself to make you comfortable. I've dimmed my pain because your love always seemed to come with a but. Even now, it feels like our relationship is more take than give. Like I'm the one constantly pouring, trying, reaching, while you remain distant, cold, dismissive. And every time I reach out, hoping this time will be different, I end up burned by the same fire. So here's where I'm at, Mom. I love you, but I'm tired of hoping for a version of you that may never exist. I'm tired of trying to get water from a well that's been dry for years. And I'm learning that I can love you and still name the ways you hurt me. That I can honor your role in my life and grieve the emotional mother I never had. That forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. It sometimes just means release. This Mother's Day is hard for me. Not just because I'm not a mother myself, though that pain is real, but because this day reminds me that I was the blueprint, or the blueprint I was handed was broken. And I've been trying to draw new lines with shaky hands ever since. You weren't the mother I needed, Mom. And I'm learning how to be okay with that. I'm learning how to show up for the little girl inside of me who still aches for nurturing. I am learning how to hold her, comfort her, mother her, because you couldn't. So this Mother's Day, I don't know how to show up. I may not call. I may not write a card or post a photo. I may just sit in silence, hold my heart, and let myself feel all of it. The love, the anger, the grief, the gratitude. Because I'm finally learning that I don't owe you performance. I don't owe you pretending. I owe myself honesty, healing, and peace. And that's the best gift that I can give to both of us. I love you, your daughter. Fuck. That letter was hard to write and even harder to read out loud. But I share it to not villainize my mother, but to honor my truth. Because some of us are grieving people who are still alive. Some of us are reparenting ourselves while still navigating relationships with the very people who hurt us. And that kind of grief, it doesn't come with casseroles or sympathy cards. It's invisible, lingering, heavy. Because the truth is, I'm carrying two griefs, one for the children I never held, and one for the mother who never held me. And in between those losses, I'm learning how to mother myself. I'm learning that nurturing doesn't always look like rocking a baby to sleep. Sometimes it looks like rocking yourself through an anxiety spiral. Sometimes it looks like saying, "No, that's not okay," to your own mama. Sometimes it looks like picking up your inner child, brushing off her knees, and saying, "You're safe now. I've got you." Mother's Day might never be easy for people like us, but we can reclaim it. We can honor the nurturers, the healers, the memory keepers, the ones who chose softness in a world that demanded we harden. So this one goes out to the invisible mothers, the not quite stepmoms, the almost mamas, the childless women who still hold entire generations in their hands, the daughters who became the mothers they needed, the ones learning how to grieve and honor at the same time. If you're listening and you're feeling raw this weekend, I want you to know you are not broken. You are not less. You are not incomplete because you don't have a child. And you're not ungrateful because you're grieving the mother you deserved but didn't get. You are living a very real human experience that doesn't get enough airtime. And to the childless stepmoms, your love matters, even if they don't say it, even if the world overlooks you, even if you lost the title when the relationship ended. You were there. You gave your heart. And that makes you something sacred. To the daughters of difficult mothers, I see your ache. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to love her from afar, or not at all. You are allowed to reparent yourself, slowly and tenderly, one soft moment at a time. You deserve softness too. We deserve to hold space for ourselves in all our grief, all our grace, all our glorious in-betweenness. You are seen, you are valid, you are whole, even in your longing. And your story matters. Happy Mother's Day. If this episode hit home, know that I see you, that you matter, and that every version of your motherhood or mother loss deserves space. Make sure you drop the Unapologetically Spicy podcast a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Follow the podcast on Instagram at Unapologetically Spicy Pod, or on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Unapollo Spicy Pod. Want to talk about the podcast online? Use hashtag Unapologetically Spicy Pod to start the conversation. Leave a comment on the show's page on Spotify, or leave a review on our official Facebook page. Until next time, stay spicy.